The truth is, living by yourself without friends, family, or anyone to look after you can feel a lot like being the last person left on the planet. It's not the kind of situation most of us pictured for our later years, yet somehow it's where many of us have landed. No relatives nearby, no neighbors dropping in, nobody asking if you've had breakfast or reminding you to take your pills. At first, that emptiness can feel unsettling, almost like you've been thrown into a survival game you never signed up for. Still, here's the brighter side. Life alone doesn't have to be bleak. In fact, it can be manageable and even rewarding once you know a few clever strategies. You can build a daily rhythm that keeps you safe, confident, and comfortable. That's what we're exploring here. 10 simple, practical, and sometimes surprisingly fun ways to make life not only doable, but worth anticipating. And honestly, by the end, you may discover a hidden joy in having nobody around to boss you. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you won't miss more tips and real-life stories like this one. Number 1. Automate your medical safety net. If you're living alone with no one popping in to check on you, your health is the one area you cannot just wing. When you're 25, skipping a vitamin is a shrug. When you're 75, skipping a heart pill isn't, oops, it's a headline. That's why I always tell folks, automate it. Imagine hiring a little squad of invisible helpers whose only job is to beep, nag, and make sure you stay alive. Unlike a spouse, they won't roll their eyes while doing it. Take automatic pill dispensers, for example. They're basically slot machines for your prescriptions. They only release the right pills at the right time, then beep until you grab them. Some even lock so you can't get ahead, because yes, apparently some people snack on medication like potato chips. The point is, no more standing in the kitchen asking yourself, did I take that blood pressure pill this morning or was that yesterday? But medicine management is only half the story. What if something happens? A fall, a dizzy spell, or one of those soap opera collapses in the kitchen? That's where medical alert devices come in. I know what you're picturing. The old, I've fallen and I can't get up commercial. Corny? Sure. But the idea works. The new gadgets are sleek, some disguised as watches or pendants. A few even detect falls automatically, dialing for help without you pressing a thing. It's like having a bodyguard on your wrist who tattles to 911 if gravity gets the best of you. Here's another tip. Some towns have free daily call services. Volunteers or automated systems ring you once a day, just to make sure you're upright. If you don't answer, they send help. One man told me, it's like having a nosy neighbor who never asks for sugar. Not a bad trade-off. The truth is, you don't need a family member hovering over you if you've got smart systems running in the background. You're building a safety net that works 24/7, leaving you free to actually enjoy your day without that constant whisper of, what if? Number 2, design your home to be solo safe. Now let's talk about the place you spend most of your hours. Home. When you live alone and nobody's stopping by, your house has to work with you, not against you. Think of it as turning your space into a teammate, one that's on your side instead of setting traps. Because here's the truth. Most houses are designed for 30-year-olds who think nothing of climbing chairs to grab boxes off the top shelf. That's not reality when you're 70 plus and solo. You can't afford to play, guess how bad this rug will hurt me if I trip. Step 1. Clear the battlefield. Loose rugs, cords stretched across walkways, stacks of magazines by the recliner. They're not decor, they're booby traps. One woman laughed that she finally got rid of the rug her cat loved because it tripped her more often than the cat did. Smartest decision she ever made. Bathrooms, danger zones, wet floors, slippery tubs, towel racks that look sturdy but will betray you the second you grab them. Installing grab bars might feel like waving the white flag, but they're lifesavers. And guess what? They don't look clinical anymore. Some are sleek, modern, and double as towel rails. They blend right in while saving you from a wrestling match with gravity. Lighting is another underrated hero. You don't want to fumble for switches at 2 a.m. Motion sensor lights are cheap now and pop on the second you shuffle down the hall. Honestly, it feels a little like magic. Like your house whispering, "Don't worry, I've got you." And here's a trick I love. Keep things within what I call lazy reach. No climbing stools, no stretching like you're auditioning for the circus just to grab a pot. One gentleman told me he keeps a small folding stool in every room so he never has to balance on a chair. He calls it my quiet roommate. Doesn't talk but keeps me out of the ER. Making your home solo safe is not surrendering independence. It's protecting it. The safer your environment, the longer you stay in it, on your own terms. And when you don't have the safety net of family or friends nearby, that kind of freedom is priceless. Number 3. Plan your meals the way a pilot plans fuel. Here's the deal with food. When you're living alone, if you don't plan ahead, meals can easily look like a college kid's finals week menu. Crackers for lunch, maybe a banana in the afternoon, and a sad bowl of cereal at 9 o'clock at night. That's fine once in a while, but it's no long-term recipe for steady energy or good health in your later years. I like to think about meals the way a pilot thinks about fuel. No pilot takes off saying, "I'll figure out gas once I'm in the air." They plan their route, calculate the reserves, and make sure the tank is full before the wheels ever leave the ground. You, my friend, are the pilot of your own body. If you want to avoid mid-flight crashes, and by that I mean blood sugar dips, sudden weakness, or crankiness sneaking up on you, you need to fuel up with intention. One widower shared a strategy online that really stuck with me. He said, "I don't cook for myself every day. I cook for my future self once a week." What he meant was that he sets aside one big cooking session, pots of soup, trays of roasted vegetables, casseroles, baked chicken. Then he portions everything into containers. During the week when he doesn't feel like cooking, and let's be honest, that's most days, he simply heats up what's already waiting in the fridge or freezer. Speaking of soup, I've pinned a link in the comments with over 50 soup recipes tailored for different health benefits. They're light, comforting, and easy to digest. Perfect for days when your appetite is small or when you just need a little boost of comfort. Do yourself a favor and grab a copy. Another clever woman created a snack shelf at arm's level in her kitchen. No bending, no stretching, no climbing stools. She filled it with protein bars, fruit cups, and nuts. She laughed and said, "It's like having my own vending machine, except everything in it is actually good for me." Meals don't have to be gourmet. They just need to keep your tank full. A single pot of soup can stretch through several meals. A dozen oatmeal muffins can be breakfast for the week. A carton of pre-made hard-boiled eggs means protein in seconds. The bottom line, if you live alone, food isn't just food. It's energy management. Plan it like fuel, and you'll have reserves to enjoy your days instead of dragging through them. If you find this content inspiring and it motivates you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 4, build a silent backup network of professionals. Now let's move to something that can save your sanity, creating what I like to call a silent backup network. If you don't have friends or family nearby, you may feel like you're stuck doing absolutely everything alone. And yes, you can do it all. But why exhaust yourself when there are people whose job is to step in? This isn't about building a social circle, it's about building a practical one. Think of it as outsourcing the heavy, boring, or impossible tasks so you can focus on living. Piece it together quietly, like your own little army of part-time helpers. Start with groceries. Instead of hauling heavy bags until your back protests, sign up for a delivery service. Seniors everywhere swear by it. One man joked that his delivery driver is like the nephew he never had. Reliable, friendly, and always on time, for $5. Cleaning is another area to outsource. Maybe you don't need someone every week, but a monthly cleaning service can change your life. 2 hours of help means you're not bending, scrubbing, or straining. A woman once told me she resisted for years, thinking it was for rich people. Then she realized it was really for smart people. She pays once a month. and her back thanks her daily in between. Transportation is another piece of the puzzle. Even if you still drive, the day may come when you'd rather not. That's when rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft become game changers. Call them chauffeurs if you like. One senior told me he uses rideshare for doctor visits and laughed, "I've had more pleasant chats with drivers than with my own cousins in 10 years. The beauty of this silent network is that it doesn't cost you emotional energy. You don't have to entertain anyone or keep up relationships. You just pay for services that smooth out your life. And yes, it takes some money, but think of it as an investment in independence. Every task you don't strain over, every chore you don't risk injury doing, is time and freedom you've bought back." Here's the best way to see it. If you don't have a safety net of people, you create a safety net of systems. Those systems, made of professionals who step in quietly when you need them, can be the difference between struggling through each day and actually enjoying the independence you worked so hard to keep. Number 5, train your body for independence, not vanity. When you're young, exercise is all about the mirror. Guys want bigger arms, women want slimmer waists, and almost everyone has that one problem area they think will finally unlock happiness if they can just fix it. But once you're older and living alone, the rules change. Suddenly, it's not about vanity. It's about survival. Can you carry your own groceries without stopping halfway up the driveway? Can you rise from a chair without groaning like you're summoning ancient spirits? Can you pick something off the floor without wondering if you'll need to call 911 to stand back up? One man summed it up perfectly. "I don't train for the beach anymore. I train so I don't have to call a neighbor when I can't open a jar of peanut butter." That's the mindset. Strength becomes freedom. Balance becomes dignity. Flexibility becomes the difference between a funny stumble and a life-changing fall. The good news is, you don't need an expensive gym membership or to become a silver-haired bodybuilder. A few simple, consistent movements can transform your confidence. Squats help you sit down and stand up without struggle. Shoulder presses with soup cans mean you can reach the top shelf without wobbling. Heel raises keep your balance steady when sidewalks are uneven. One woman I know said her program is just standing up from the couch 10 times in a row, twice a day. She laughed and said, "If I can do that, I can survive just about any bathroom trip in the future." Funny? Yes. But also deeply true. Because the point isn't chasing abs anymore. It's chasing independence. Every rep, every walk, every stretch is like putting coins in your freedom jar. Maybe it's a stroll around the block. Maybe it's stretching while the tea kettle whistles. Maybe it's lifting a gallon of water a few times like a dumbbell. Small, steady deposits into the bank of independence. One day you'll be grateful when you realize you can still change a light bulb without calling in reinforcements. Number 6, master one-trip living. Now this one is a favorite of mine because it's both practical and a little funny. If you've lived alone, you know the grind, hauling groceries from the car, dragging laundry back and forth, hauling trash to the curb. It's endless. And without anyone to share the load, it's not just tiring. It can be risky. Too many trips up and down the stairs and suddenly your knees are rolling dice with gravity. That's why I swear by what I call one-trip living. It's the art of setting up your routines so you carry, move, and manage everything efficiently, like a human Swiss Army knife. Instead of 5 exhausting trips, you streamline into one calm, safe, efficient trip. A retired man online said he bought what he calls his magic chariot, basically a foldable rolling cart. He piles everything inside: groceries, laundry, cleaning supplies. He joked that it's not glamorous, but it's the closest thing he's ever had to a butler. Another woman carries a crossbody bag around her house, stocked with her glasses, phone, and a small water bottle. She laughed, saying, "It's like I've built my own little survival kit. I'm never stranded without the essentials." And then there's the classic grocery showdown. You know the one, standing in the driveway, staring at 12 bags, your pride whispering, "I can carry them all in one trip." Younger, you did it for bragging rights. Older, you does it to save your knees and avoid extra effort. Grab those reusable bags with long handles, sling them like bandoliers, and suddenly you're starring in your own movie called Mission Groceries. Here's the wisdom. When you don't have someone to lean on, efficiency becomes survival. Every extra trip you cut down saves energy. Every little system you design lowers your risk of injury. And honestly, there's a quiet satisfaction in it. It feels like you've hacked life, like you've built a smoother operating system for daily living that keeps you independent without draining your reserves. So don't think of one-trip living as laziness. Think of it as smart living. It's about protecting your body's energy for the things that matter. Reading a good book, tending your plants, or sneaking that midnight cookie without pulling a muscle on the way to the kitchen. Number 7. Use technology as your stand-in caregiver. Here's the truth. If you don't have family, friends, or a hired caregiver nearby, technology can cover half their job, and it won't complain, take coffee breaks, or roll its eyes at you. The key is not to treat gadgets like toys, but like teammates designed to cover your blind spots. Let's start with reminders. Normally, a daughter might call and say, "Dad, did you take your meds?" But Alexa or Google Assistant can do the same thing, minus the guilt trip. You can set it to buzz, blink, or talk until you respond. One man I know nicknamed his smart speaker Naggy Nurse. He laughs. "She never forgets my pills, and she never asks me for gas money." Now think about falls. Living alone, a bad fall isn't just painful, it can change everything. That's where wearables like smartwatches or medical pendants earn their keep. They're digital lifeguards. Press a button and someone answers. Some even detect falls automatically, dialing help before you can. It's like having an invisible neighbor keeping an eye out, without judging you for wearing the same sweatpants 3 days straight. Technology also touches the emotional side. Loneliness is real, and it eats away at people living solo. But apps can ease the edges. You can chat with others, play chess, or join virtual classes. I knew a woman in her 70s who took a Zoom painting course. She laughed that she'd never met so many people while sitting in pajamas. It wasn't about best friends, it was about faces, laughter, and remembering the world was bigger than her living room. And don't underestimate voice assistants. Some dismiss them, but one gentleman asks Alexa for jokes every morning with his coffee. He swears it makes him feel less alone at the start of his day. Here's the point. Technology isn't just convenience. It's backup care. It reminds, it watches, it connects, and sometimes it entertains. If you don't have a human caregiver, build a digital one. Piece together your own little team that keeps you safe, structured, and even smiling. Number 8. Build a paper trail of peace. Now, this isn't glamorous, but it's one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. Get your paperwork in order. I call it a paper trail of peace because that's exactly what it brings: peace of mind. If you don't have close family or friends nearby, there's no one to swoop in and say, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." Which means if you don't set things up, no one will. That sounds heavy, I know. But here's the flip side. Once you put it together, life feels lighter. You stop lying awake at night worrying about the what-ifs. Your paper trail covers all the unglamorous but essential stuff: medical wishes, bills, accounts, spare keys. A widowed gentleman I read about kept a binder labeled, "In case I croak." Inside were insurance papers, account info, even his plumber's number. Morbid? Maybe. Smart? Absolutely. He said it felt like leaving breadcrumbs for himself if his memory slipped, or for someone else if they had to step in later. And it doesn't need to be a fancy binder. A folder with passwords written down securely works. A drawer with labeled envelopes for your will, directives, and bank info is enough. One woman joked that her legacy box was a shoebox full of sticky notes and photocopies, but she could find what she needed in 5 minutes. And that's the whole point. This isn't only about emergencies. Having your affairs organized makes everyday life smoother. No more tearing the house apart, looking for a bill, or trying to remember refill dates. You build the system once, and suddenly life stops feeling like a scavenger hunt. Here's the hidden bonus. It gives you back control. Even if you're alone, you know that if something happens, you've already written the script. You've already decided how things will go. That's independence. That's strength. So yes, a paper trail of peace might sound dull, but in truth, it's a gift to your future self. It says, I've got your back. And when you live alone with no one else watching out for you, that's priceless. Number 9. Outsource companionship in bite-sized ways. Let's be real. Loneliness can feel like an unwanted roommate when you live alone without family or friends nearby. It sits in the chair across from you, watches TV with you, and sometimes even steals the last cookie. You can't always kick it out completely, but you can stop it from running the house. The trick? Outsource companionship in small, manageable doses. Now I get it. When someone says, find companionship, your eyes might roll. Where? With who? But here's the thing. It doesn't have to mean finding a new best friend or signing up for some exhausting club where people pressure you into icebreakers. Companionship can be short, simple interactions, little sparks of human connection that don't drain you. Think about the barista who remembers your order, the librarian who smiles and says, "Good to see you again," even the delivery driver who drops by once a week. Those micro moments matter more than people realize. A man once told me he shops at the same grocery store not for the prices, but because the cashier knows his name. That 2-minute chat at checkout? The highlight of his week. And here's the interesting part. You can plan these bite-sized connections. Maybe you hire a dog walker, not because you can't walk the dog, but because you enjoy the quick chat at the door. Maybe you join an online fitness class where the instructor greets you by name. One woman admitted she signed up for a weekly senior stretching session on Zoom. Half the time, she barely stretched. She just loved seeing the familiar faces. It doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to last forever. You don't need a soul-bonding friendship. Sometimes companionship is just a smile, a name remembered, or a 5-minute conversation that reminds you you're still part of the world. So yes, outsource it. Buy small doses of human connection the same way you'd buy groceries. It's not fake, it's not sad, it's survival. And sometimes, those tiny doses are exactly enough to keep loneliness from becoming your full-time roommate. Number 10. Create a self-care calendar and stick to it. Now this one might sound fluffy, but hear me out. A self-care calendar is one of the smartest tools you can have when no one else is checking in. It's basically your personal coach, boss, and cheerleader rolled into one. Here's the challenge of living solo. No one reminds you to shower, eat something green, or change your sheets. No one says, "Hey, it's been 3 days since you left the house." It's just you. And when days blur together, it's easy to let basic routines slip. That's where the calendar comes in. It gives your week shape, even when no one else is around to structure it. Picture this. Monday says, walk around the block. Tuesday, call the doctor about that knee pain. Wednesday, wash the bedding. Thursday, cook a real meal instead of toast. Suddenly, you're not drifting, you're steering. One man told me his phone pings with reminders like, "Hey champ, drink water before you shrivel into a raisin," or "Stretch now, your spine is begging." He laughs, but it keeps him accountable. Another woman uses a paper calendar with stickers. Each time she finishes a task, exercise, a healthy meal, even a nap, she rewards herself with a gold star. Childish? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. The payoff is bigger than you'd think. A self-care calendar prevents little problems from snowballing. It gives you small victories to celebrate. And most of all, it builds rhythm in a life that might otherwise feel too quiet. Here's the bottom line. When you don't have anyone nudging you along, You've got to become your own nudger. That might sound like work, but it's actually empowering. You're not waiting for someone else to direct your day. You're setting the tone, creating your own safety net. So don't underestimate it. A simple calendar, whether it's on your wall, your phone, or just scribbled on an envelope, can be the difference between days that blur together and days that feel lived. So here we are, 10 ways to not only survive, but to actually thrive when you're living alone without family or friends nearby. From automating your safety net, to mastering one-trip living, to building a paper trail of peace, each of these steps is about one thing: taking ownership of your independence. Because here's the truth. Life on your own doesn't have to mean life on the sidelines. You don't need to feel like the world has forgotten you. With the right systems, a few clever tricks, and a mindset shift toward practicality over pride, you can create a life that is safe, steady, and surprisingly joyful. Loneliness may knock on your door, but you don't have to invite it in. And vulnerability doesn't have to mean weakness. It can mean wisdom, preparation, and the strength to say, I'm still here, and I'm still in charge. Think of it this way. Every grab bar installed, every reminder set, every small connection made at the grocery checkout is another brick in the bridge that keeps you standing strong. Independence isn't about doing everything alone. It's about building a world that supports you even when no one else is around. Now, if these ideas struck a chord with you, don't keep them to yourself. Hit the like button, share this with someone who might need the encouragement, and subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. Together, we can keep discovering practical, uplifting ways to live fully, because independence doesn't end at 70. In many ways, it's just beginning.